Hello and welcome to another live stream. Today I've got hopefully what is some interesting items for you. Also have a little bit of an update on the ATEM Mini saga and how that's all unfolding. We'll be taking a look at a couple of things, but let's go ahead and get started with some news. Woo. Okay. This is not an all-encompassing news program, and I just kind of pick out highlights that piqued my interest. Elma Linux OS, which is one of the CentOS RHEL variants, is now available for 64-bit PowerPC architecture. So if you're sitting on that old PowerPC Macintosh, might be worth dusting it off if it's actually got the 64-bit PowerPC chip in it. The Steam Deck, not to be confused with the Stream Deck. The Steam Deck, which is a Linux-powered handheld gaming system, has been officially released. This is running Linux. And the thing that has piqued my interest on this is the fact that Steam has been doing some pretty major architectural work and making more games work with Linux. So this is kind of exciting, especially for people that are wanting to do more gaming with Linux. Next thing on the list, it has been 10 years since the release of the original Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi, or the Raspberry Pi 1 as it's now known, was officially launched on 2/29/2012. So yeah, that's it's been a pretty interesting ride. I found out about it late in the production of the first generation. I didn't buy one until the Raspberry Pi 2 was on the market, and I still have that Raspberry Pi 2. I've got, I think, one or two Raspberry Pi 3s and two Raspberry Pi 4s. Maybe it's only one Raspberry Pi 3. I've got a number of them. Right now I am holding off purchasing anymore because of a couple reasons. One, because they're hard to get a hold of right now. And two, because I want to move from the standard credit card form factor to going into the Raspberry Pi Compute module, which opens up options for M.2 storage and other fun stuff, and it takes the Raspberry Pi out of the category of a hobby or educational type device and into something that could be used for more mission critical applications. And, you know, the reason for this is because those carrier boards for the Raspberry Pi Compute module, you can get them that use standard ATX power supplies. You could use M.2 storage. There are some that have PCI Express expansion slots and other various combinations of input-output connections on the carrier board that open up a whole new world to the possibilities of what you can do with the Raspberry Pi platform. But the compute modules are next to impossible to get at the moment. You can get the carrier boards, but compute modules are hard to come by. Next news item. It has been proposed that the Linux kernel will remove support for the Reiser file system. And so just a little bit of a history recap for those who have not been around the Linux ecosystem long enough. ReiserFS was the brainchild of Hans Reiser. And it was a very promising file system. ReiserFS 3 I used quite extensively. ReiserFS 4 was in heavy development. And then Mr. Reiser decided to murder his wife, or ex-wife, I suppose it is, and dump her remains, and he is now in prison. And the company that was built around ReiserFS is long since gone, and it has not seen very much maintenance in the intervening years. So due to some of the changes that are wanting to be made to the Linux kernel, they'd have to update ReiserFS in order to make these other changes, so they've proposed just yanking it out. And the final sort of news item that I found pretty interesting this week, an ex-Apple Mail engineer has made what might be the best native Gmail app for macOS. The app is called Mime Stream, M-I-M-E, as in the mail standard. Mime Stream currently only works with Gmail, although they are going to be adding support for Outlook, 365, whatever Microsoft is calling that mess these days, as well as other SMTP servers. So it's an interesting looking application. I'm not sure I'm going to use it. Although as I try to do some consolidation work on my Gmail account, which I've had since 2007, it might be the catalyst for me to get that mail account cleaned up once and for all. We'll see. So everybody that I know has too much email around, and yeah, anything that I could do to make it a little bit more manageable is a good thing. Okay, so good morning, Chris. Good morning, Catherine. And good morning, David. Welcome to everybody. Looks like we've got one other straggler. Oh, Muhammad is here. I think you've been here at least one other time, Muhammad. Welcome. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate all of you for being here. Let's see. Catherine says, congratulations to the Raspberry Pi. And she's got a Raspberry Pi 4B 8GB model. Very nice. I've only been successful in snagging 2 of the 4GB models. So a little jealous there, but one day I will get there. Let's see. Muhammad says hello. David says, I was also watching at least 30 seconds of lead-in commercial, so the channel gets appreciated by YouTube. Thank you, David. I very much appreciate that. I'm trying to play by the YouTube rules and get things noticed. So I have 2 8GB models and trying to get another. They are hard to find these days. So, speaking of which, I remember something that I hadn't put on my notes to mention today, but we'll use this as a lead into some of the other items. Adafruit has launched the Raspberry Pi Finder. So, yes, Pi Finder to the rescue. Um, Much in the same thought process as the GPU finders. Um, this is supposed to be, or maybe this isn't what I thought it was. No, this isn't the one I thought it was. Well, anyways, there is a Raspberry Pi locator. Yes, this is the one I wanted. Pi locator. Uh, the since they've been hard to find, you can actually search for Raspberry Pi modules and the actual single board computers and find the pricing and whether they're in stock. So it looks like they're in stock in Germany, and I'm not sure what CH is, but yeah. As far as any place in the U.S., I think we're all SOL at the moment. So yeah. But I will throw this in chat. I know this is something that was recently launched, and I had just heard about it. So I wanted to make sure that I mention it, and everybody had a chance if they're looking for a Raspberry Pi, that they have a chance to potentially find it. And it says they've got Amazon affiliate links as well, although who knows if we'll find anything in stock. There's a carrier board. Holy. Raspberry Pi 4 Model B 2019. 4 gig model for $175. Holy price gouging, Batman. Okay. CH is Switzerland. I would expect nothing less than for you to know, Catherine. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Good morning to Tony. Welcome. So, let's see. Speaking of supply chain issues, I had a bad time this past week getting Thunderbolt docks, Netgear 48 port PoE switches, PO extenders, and monitors in quantities. Yeah. Thankfully, I haven't had to buy any larger quantities of everything for the library at the moment. I'm kind of waiting that one out a little bit. I know I've got to purchase some new computers, but everything is a little on the pricey side and questionable availability, to say the least. Let's see. I pay less than $50 for each of mine. Yeah, so I've had my Pi 4s for a while, and I paid somewhere in that ballpark as well. I ordered the kits, so it came with a power supply and a micro SD card and all that fun stuff. But yeah, um, just be careful of CZ. Oh, Czechia. Paid 75 US dollars for mine. Okay. CZ is Eastern Europe. Yeah, if I were going to order from Europe at all, it would either be Germany or the UK, likely. But that is neither here nor there at the moment. Okay, so one update I did want to bring up before we go on to the rest of the news items. I spent a good chunk of Friday and parts of yesterday doing testing with the ATEM Mini Pro. I'm almost to where I'm comfortable with it. Not quite there, and I've also got a couple of additional cables coming, a couple of HDMI splitters, and additional HDMI cables, which should allow me to have everything that I want hooked up. And I am targeting a week from today as the first normal Sunday live stream direct from the ATEM Mini Pro. I did several sort of test streams earlier this week, and so one thing I did want to show, which I thought was kind of odd. Let's see. Let's just do it this way. Desktop. So, Tony, you had sent me a screenshot that had a couple of additional settings under additional settings here. I obviously didn't get this screenshot attached to my email I sent back to you, but the auto start, auto stop settings are not here, and they should have been, comparing with the screenshot you sent, they should have been right here under additional settings. I'm still finalizing getting the chat functionality set up. I had a couple of test runs where it worked okay, and then one that it kind of went a little wonky on me. So yeah. Question for Jeremy and David. Thoughts on Geo-ip blocking on home routers? Should we be doing it? I'm wrestling with this decision. Honestly, for me, Tony, since I'm running Unify, I have been doing it for a while now already. Yeah, I think if people have the option, it's not a bad idea, especially with the talks on the major news outlets about, possible cyber warfare the longer this tragedy in Ukraine continues. So I'd be interested in hearing what anybody else has to say on that for input, but that's kind of my thought process, and I'll probably actually review that after the live stream today just to see if there are any other countries that I wanted to block. But I think I've got Russia and China blocked already. but I may consider some other Eastern European type countries as well. And granted, you know, there's nothing to stop them using a VPN and jumping to an IP address in the US, but yeah, you know, it'll stop or slow down some, which is a good thing. Let's see. I went to a Micro Center this week for the first time. Neat store. Already had a lot of badly dressed customers. Yeah, I've been to the Lone Micro Center here in Michigan a couple of years ago, pre-plague, and then beginning of this year, I was at one of the Chicagoland area Micro Center stores. So, yeah, it's honestly, I liked Fry's better when Fry's was fully stocked. Sadly, Fry's is no longer with us. But Micro Center seems to be the best thing we've got for us. For those of us that are, how shall I say this, graduated from the more consumer-oriented big box stores that might use a blue and yellow color scheme. I won't go any further than that. I geoblock a few countries at my data center, but only like the top 5. I have everything blocked for incoming. I do not enable even VPN coming in for myself. Running the edge routers or Geo-ip blocking isn't as straightforward as on Unify. I will play with it today on a test router. Sounds good. And I'll throw this out there. And you know, people can contact me through the YouTube channel. Let me mute this first before I go here. So on my About page, of course, there's the little thing to get the email address. But if anybody is in dire need of an Edge Router X, and has the knowledge to open it up and do the harder reset, I've got one. I never have got it to work. I'm assuming from what I've read and watched on other videos that something about opening up and attaching to the JTAG header or something. I've not done that. I'm a little hesitant to buy the cabling to do that. But if somebody's got that and wants the Edge Router X, shoot me an email. I know they're hard to come by at the moment, and they're useful for a lot of projects. You know, I'm sure I can let it go. You know, so you know, if we can get shipping covered, I'd be happy to part with it. So I'll throw that out there. I know there are some of you out there that are more into the Edge OS ecosystem than I am currently. I had bought it a couple of years ago for a project. This was before the plague encompassed the world. And I never did get it to work. And so if, somebody wants to tinker with it, hit me up via email and we'll figure something out. So I thought I'd throw that out there. Let's see. I believe price goes up at the register if you're wearing fancy clothing. I don't trust anything incoming. I was once a white hat hacker for my day job. I would probably agree with that. Yeah, I don't have a VPN on my home network / lab network. I do occasionally run something like Zero Tier, but that is something that I can easily turn on and off as needed, and I don't have to open up ports in the firewall to do it. I've done the hard reset successfully. If you want me to try for you, send it over. Successful, I'll send it back to you. Oh, well, thank you for that, Tony. I appreciate the offer. I think it'd be something fun to play with. Currently, that's my only Edge OS device I've got around, and it's kind of a paperweight at the moment. But yeah, I will take you up on that. I'm seriously considering paying the extra $20 to my ISP to get a second IP on a different subnet. Then I can set up an isolated network that allows connections, but I had an air gap to the rest of my network. For $20, just do it. Yeah, I would be inclined to do the same thing. So let's see. Wondering if not having the auto start stop feature has something to do with browser compatibility. I see you're running Firefox. Okay, I will try that in Chrome for sure. So I normally display stuff through Firefox. I've been using Firefox since it was called Phoenix, like the 0.2-ish version. Maybe it was 0.1. Yeah, it's been a while. And then it was Firebird, and that was in conflict with the Firebird database, and then they settled on Firefox. But yeah, I think it's been it's been almost 20 years of Firefox already, hasn't it? Wow. That's nutty. When did 2002. So this fall it'll be the 20th anniversary of Firefox. That's crazy. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out in I don't know if I've got Chrome installed. I've got Brave installed, which is based on Chromium, which should theoretically work, but if I have to reinstall Chrome, I will. Let's see. I replaced the notebook display cable yesterday on my Acer 591G from 2017. Works flawlessly again. Before the screen would flash white and then the screen would turn black when it was moved. Yeah, I've replaced a few of those cables. You could always add a load balancer. Would add extra layer security and allow greater forwarding flexibility. Very nice. I use WaterFox. All right. I've used WaterFox once or twice, but I don't know. It always seemed like a very small developer uh, operation, so I kind of shied away from that one. Okay, so we're caught up on chat for the moment. Let me take a look at my notes. So, um, if you haven't been watching, Ubuntu 20.04.4, which is kind of a roll up release, has been released this week. It has kernel 5.13 and Mesa 21.2, which were brought over from Ubuntu 21.10, which was released in October. I've got that VM running here, but we're going to jump on it from the terminal, so that's a little bit larger, and I'll just full screen that. Okay, so just to show, I've had this up since just before the live stream, and interesting, it says it's running the 5.4 kernel when it's supposed to be on 5.13. I will have to investigate that further. Okay. But nothing really has changed. It's got the most recent installer, so that process doesn't, at the current moment, it doesn't prompt you to update the installer before you continue installing. And it's, just got the latest packages that Ubuntu is supporting for their server OS. HTOP is installed by default. I only gave this one 2 gigs of RAM. This was a very quick setup before the live stream, and doesn't have NeoFetch installed. We can remedy that, and push through this, and NeoFetch, that's all good. I'm still not sure why it's showing a 5.4 kernel. Hopefully they will address that, because I was kind of looking forward to being on the newer kernel, but c'est la vie. There's also the desktop version, which I did not install today before the live stream. Everything else seems to be going well on this, but yeah. So I guess that's my first Linux segment, kind of short and sweet, to the point. I am not even going to try to pronounce your name, but thank you. Love your videos, man. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I will not butcher your name, but thank you. Let's see. Plus load balancer can alleviate opening multiple ports. Alright, so moving on to the next piece of the live stream. Let me move over here. And probably have that minimized somewhere down here. There. Okay. So we're going to actually jump over to my Windows 10 box. Because there was a piece of software that I discovered this week that's a Windows piece of Windows software that I thought I would talk about briefly in case others have not heard of it. And this is called Snappy Driver Installer Origin. And the URL is Snappy Driver Installer with hyphens between the words .org. This is an open source sort of driver pack that you can use offline on a Windows system. Up to this point, I've never been a fan of these. The one thing that really made me take notice of this is that it is open source. You can look at the source code, you can investigate and make sure it's not doing anything nefarious. And it says it supports Windows XP through 10. I would imagine Windows 11 support is going to be coming real soon now. But you can download it from their website. They also have, just for the sake of argument, I will mention this, they do have an optional subscription, and try to make that a little bit bigger. As you can see, their prices are pretty reasonable. Technician subscription $5 a month, shop is $10 a month, enterprise is $20 a month, or you can make a donation starting at $1 a month, or a single lump sum donation if you find the software useful. I respect the fact that, you know, the developers want to get paid for their time, and if this is something that I use more than a one-off type of thing, I would definitely consider sending the project some money. This I find interesting. I have not installed it. You can download it from the website like you would download any other Windows application from a website, or you can use my preferred method, because I just prefer package managers. And I know if it's in chocolatey that it's been reviewed to some extent. So since I don't use this Windows 10 box for anything production worthy, I'm not terribly worried about installing it on this machine. And so I thought we would get it installed and fire it up. If this wants to cooperate with me, Snappy Driver Installer Origin. And you get your nice little GNU public license, which we'll go ahead and accept. And I will allow allow access on this machine. And then the base install does not come with the driver packs. You have to download those, which is fine, and I'm not going to spend the time here to do that, but this seems pretty easy to install. They do have an expert mode that you can toggle on and off with different options. And yeah, worth taking a look at. It was last updated on January 26th of this year, so it's not abandonware or anything like that. And, you know, it could prove to be a useful utility. Excuse me. Okay. So from their subscribe page, it does say Snappy Driver Installer Origin remains free, a free open source project. Free means it costs you nothing to download and use. Free means it is free of adware, malware, backdoors, unwanted third-party software, and other dodgy stuff. If you use the application on a regular basis in your business, please consider a monthly subscription or one-off donation. And I've already talked about that a little bit. So, something worth taking a look at if you have some pesky Windows machines, or you're supporting Windows machines somewhere where you might not have a reliable internet connection. There are a couple of use cases that I could see this being an interesting solution for. Your mileage may vary. As I said, I have not used this yet. I will be playing with it on this Windows 10 box later today, after I get a couple of errands run. And it may turn into a video, not entirely sure, but I will definitely be reporting back on that. So let's take a look back at the chat for a minute. Let's see. Gotta run. Okay, thanks Tony for stopping in, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. For creating sysprep images, I add a directory with driver packs from manufacturers and then run pnp-util command to scan and add drivers needed. Nice. You have to have a PC that can be sacrificed when trying new software. Yes. Well, I've got an image backup of my Windows 10 box, and it's given me a couple of issues lately, fighting me on some Windows updates for whatever reason, and I might just be doing a clean install on this anyways. So, yeah, I'm this particular box I'm not worried about. And I've got the latest 21H2 Windows installer on a thumb drive already, created with Ventoy, that makes it quick and easy to get the system back up and running with the most recent version of Windows, and then having a list of software from Chocolatey and from Winget. I can have this machine back and in its current state pretty quickly. So, so this is This is not the AMD box. This is the Windows 10 box that is running a Dell Optiplex 7010. Let's see, Optiplex 7010 with a third generation i5. Yeah, it's for what I need it for. It serves its purpose. The Windows 11 box, the little AMD box I got, I'm not quite as prone to experimenting with that one as I am with this particular machine. Yeah. Use an 8th gen i3 with 8 gig and hot swappable drives. Nice. Good idea. Absolutely. No worries. No worries. Okay, so we've been going for about 48 minutes, 47, 48 minutes. And the final item on my list today requires us going over to the Ubuntu box, Ubuntu desktop box. And this is kind of a novelty music player called Rock-a-rolla. And I do have Flatpak installed on here. So we're going to install this. And I'm going to see if I can't just copy the commands over from my notes. And let's see if that'll... let us install this. Required runtime. Yes. Proceed with these changes. So for people that may not know, a Flatpak is sort of it's a different sort of an alternative to apt or RPM, and it's more like a DMG image on a Mac, or I guess the closest thing on Windows is an MSI file. But basically it packages everything together, including the executable file and the needed libraries for it to run. And it sort of packages it together in such a fashion that it's not going to interfere with other software installed on the system. Did I actually add back? I never added back the the screen. Sorry about that. So let's see. Welcome, Terminal for Life. My left ear is enjoying the stream. Well, I should have stereo audio is selected on my StreamYard, so I'm not entirely sure why it's only coming on one channel. Usually it's mixed for me with StreamYard. Now once I start using the ATEM Mini Pro next week, I know that will be mono unless I manipulate the videos after the live streams. But yeah. Sometimes StreamYard does some odd things, so I'm gonna put blame on them at the moment. I do in fact have the setting selected for stereo. And I can bring that over. Oops. Where did we go? Come on. Bring that over. And so, yeah, it does have stereo audio selected, but it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing at the moment. My apologies for that. For all the great things about running an XLR mic, this does sometimes happen. So I've got sort of a love-hate relationship with OBS. And limited USB ports. So I picked up the ATEM Mini Pro because I wanted to also have the flexibility to be able to do some things on the road with live streaming, and this allows me to do it. And since it broadcasts direct from the hardware and not using the computer, since my laptop is older at this point, this allows me some additional flexibility. So anyways, let's see. So Rock-a-rolla, this is, and I am not sure I've got any music on this particular box. Doesn't look like it. Yeah. So I don't currently have any music on this Ubuntu box, but basically this is sort of a novelty music player where you have to it's simulating a jukebox down to the idea that you have to use an insert coin command to get credits to play songs. So like I said, it's kind of a novelty. I thought it looked kind of interesting. But you know, this is running as a flat pack. Easy to put on the system, easy to remove from the system if it proves to be less than useful. So I kind of like flat packs and app images for that. And also because, for instance, I will not send that at the moment. For instance, I can have both the Debian installed version of LibreOffice on here, as well as the latest version. I'm not sure which one this is. By using a flat pack. So this is the latest 7.3 version of LibreOffice, which, although I don't currently use this machine a lot, it's one of those things that I just install on all my machines out of habit because I've used LibreOffice and OpenOffice and StarOffice for the better part of 20 years now. Um, Once upon a time, I actually bought a boxed version of Star Office at a CompUSA. If anybody remembers those stores, um, CompUSA was also, I believe, where I bought my Voodoo 3 2000 card many years ago. So yeah. Um, I guess that catches people up. Let me minimize that and we'll switch back over here. Um, so I do have my second Proxmox VE box running. I have to say I am still impressed with these little inexpensive Optiplex machines that I can get my hands on really cheap. Um, and you know it's for the price of adding a solid state drive, gives me enough virtualization power for most of what I do. This one is the most recent one. This is running on an Optiplex 790, which is admittedly getting a little long in the tooth, but you know, it's usable enough for some things, and you know, this will probably be the machine that I will mainly run a single VM on, and then 3 or 4 containers. Just because I think this only has 8 gigs of RAM in it. Yeah, this one only has 8 gigs of RAM in it currently. Um, but that's all right. Um, for storage, it's got I don't know, I think it's got an 80 gig spinning rush drive in it, and then a 480 gig solid state that I just put in it for the actual virtual hard disks, because it does kick the speed up a notch, and it's rather nice. So I've still got the Proxmox backup server running, and that's got the boot drive is a solid state, 240 gig solid state drive, kind of an inexpensive one. And then the bulk storage is a 750 gig drive, and as you can see, it'll be full in approximately a year and 184 days at my current rate of backup. So that's running well, and it just kind of sits in a corner humming along, and that is on an Optiplex 7010, so that's a 3rd generation i5. You know, it's kind of the poor man's home lab over here, but hey, it does what I need it to do. And you know, part of the reason for using easily attainable parts and used machines is because I want to try to meet my audience, or part of my audience, where they're at. And not everybody is going to go out and buy new machines just for virtualization labs and different things of that nature. And for the small amount that I paid for these machines, some of them came from the local university and from their salvage sales. A couple of them came from eBay, all at very reasonable pricing. you know, they serve a purpose. I have got my 1U rack server turned off at the moment, and I'm enjoying the quiet without that thing running. But, you know, that machine is probably 12 to 15 years old, so it's been a tank. It's done everything I've needed it to do. And I've pushed it to its limits a few times. My intention for that, as I think I mentioned last week, is to do a fresh install of Proxmox and then donate it to this community center that I do work for. So that's kind of where I'm at there. Just out of curiosity. So there are a couple of updates, small updates that we can run for Proxmox VE. And these usually go pretty quick. And just that quick. Refresh. And no, I've not run the little script to rid that nag dialog from my system yet on this particular box. So the other thing is, you know, with having the new system set up, it's good to go in fairly early on and set up the backups. So you can do this in two places, of course, either from the data center view and coming down to backup and doing more of the bulk VM and container backup, or you can do it on a VM by VM and container by container basis, which I've currently got that set up just because it's the only thing I've got on here. So anyways, I'll be taking a look back through this and continuing to tweak the backups from both my Proxmox machines, but you know, for what they are, they're quiet and they're lower power consumption than the 1U rack server. So I'm okay with running a couple of optiplexes for my virtualization needs at the moment. And, you know, we'll see what happens later in the year when hopefully some of these supply chain issues are worked out and things start getting better. So, are there any questions or comments at this point? I'm all ears. We've got some time left yet. I'm not sure if there's anything else. Infernax. I brought this up last week. This is a Castlevania type game that's on Steam. And I think I showed this last week. It has since got another positive rating on protondb.com. And natively, again, it has been released for Windows. But the latest person here said that it's running absolutely flawless. And he's played 4.3 hours of it. And he's running this on Proton 7.0-1 on an Ubuntu system with the 5.11 kernel, 32 gigs of RAM, NVIDIA 2070 card, and a Ryzen 9 5900 12 core. So pretty beefy system for this little game, but I've got a machine in the other room that I can fire this up on that I'm curious to see what the performance will be for the, I don't know, $19 or something that the game costs. That's a risk I'm willing to take, and yeah, I've been very curious about this game. Now that it's been out for almost 2 weeks, I guess, or maybe it has been out for 2 weeks. Might be time to pull the trigger on it, have a little fun. Maybe you'll see a gameplay video on my channel. Not entirely sure yet. Oh, excuse me. Later this year or early next, I'll be building a VM system. Very nice. I want to go high-end with it and be able to offload my video rendering and YouTube uploading with it, along with some additional services such as backups and network monitoring. Sounds like a great use of a virtualization server. Are you going to stick with your current video editing software when you do that, or are you just going to install a Windows instance and use GPU pass-through to allow you to do the rendering on the virtualization server? I know the only video editor off the top of my head that I think supports remote or distributed rendering is DaVinci Resolve from Blackmagic Design. And I don't think that's part of the free version. I think that's part of the $295 version. But it is a pretty capable piece of software. So just curious what you're thinking on that. Let's see. They have just features somewhere. Let's see what's new in 17. 100 new features, 200 new improvements, color page features, new HDR grading tools. Yeah. I think DaVinci is the one that has the remote rendering. Yeah, you can set up a render server. EposVox did a video about that in 2019. So if I were doing more general video editing, I probably would have gone with Resolve. But what I ended up with thanks to Tony's suggestion, is an app called ScreenFlow. It is Mac only. It's one of the few times that I paid for an app on the Mac. Most of my stuff is open source only, but this has given me a lot of capabilities. So, and I still feel like I've only scratched the surface with it. But being able to balance audio and then smooth volume levels has been huge, to the point that I am very much at this point considering going back and reshooting videos that were made before, say, August of last year, when I got the new Mac Mini. Just because I know a lot of my older videos, although the content itself was good, the informational part of it was good, the production value left a lot to be desired, especially on my videos from like 2017 through 2019. But you know, I'm a self-taught video editor. I don't claim to know it all. I don't claim to be professional on it. But you know, it's a work in progress, and I think my production quality has gained a lot since, say, August, September of 2021, with the new hardware and software and speedier rendering and, you know, doing some white balance work in my videos more recently. And, you know, it's just chipping away at these little areas and trying to improve things. And it has got better over time, but I acknowledge that there's still plenty of room for improvement. Plenty of room for improvement. I had high hopes in the last 18 months of being able to go into the local media center that actually runs classes open to the public and trains people on some of this stuff. But the plague has put a damper on that idea, and so I've just continued down the road on my own, and yeah, still improving. Maybe not as quickly as I could if I could, you know, spend a Saturday doing one of their classes, but I'm improving. Infernax is a platformer, yes. It's very much in the spirit of the older Castlevania and Metroid type games, or Metroidvania, as I guess people like to call them. I may switch to something else if I have a problem with what I have. One mission I will be starting is to redo most of my older thumbnails. Yes, that's something I've been working on and off for a while now. Starting with my more popular older videos. And then kind of when the creative bug strikes me, I kind of do, you know, 2 to half a dozen thumbnails at a time in one sitting, and you know, just kind of update some of that old stuff that I'm not terribly proud of the thumbnails, or I just used a screenshot out of the video as a thumbnail, or you know, things of that nature. When I watch my older videos, the slow speed at which I talk is also annoying, so I may redo some of those. Yes. I find myself, unless it's a live stream, I find myself typically watching people's videos at 1 1/4 speed across the board. And my own videos, when I refer back to them, I'll watch them at a 1.5 speed. So I'm right there with you. No complaints there. My rendering takes a long time these days with multiple 4K strips and other features I add in. Yeah, I'm still not on the 4K bandwagon. My 2 monitors on my main rig are still 1080p. I've been on the lookout for a deal on a couple of matching 4K monitors, but I know that my internet connection is not going to let me stream in 4K because of the upload speed. So I haven't pushed the subject too hard, but I have started looking for some new monitors. The one monitor I've got on my main system is acting a little funny lately. So sometimes I will turn it on or wake the computer up from sleep, and you will have the old school static kind of look from like you'd see from an old TV. And I have to power cycle it, and it's fine, but I've had these monitors for more than 8 years at this point, so I'm really seriously thinking about replacement. Plus, I want the low blue light options on the new monitors just to try to protect my eyes a little bit. So here's hoping that it will help my cause a bit. Let's see, a couple times. I spent ages going over all my thumbnails. It's such a tedious process. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I have a very recent experience dabbling with different thumbnails for the same new video release. It can make a very large difference. Yeah, I don't know. I've got like zero artistic capability, so I rely on Canva for a lot of what I do. And you know, I've started to dabble just a little bit with their thumbnail templates, but I don't want to just use the straight up template and have it be a cookie cutter copy of templates other people are using. I want to do some customizations to each one to kind of put my own stamp on it. But that becomes a time consuming process because of my lack of artistic ability. I just cheat, wrote a script to make life easier. Still takes forever though. I stream in 1080p. Yeah, once I get the ATEM going, I will be doing that as well. My subscription to StreamYard only allows me 720p. Whether or not I can do 1080 at a full quality level, even with the ATEM, I'm not entirely sure. I might have to bump up another level on the internet package just to make that happen, which I'm considering. But I want to be able to negotiate with the cable company a little bit, because For a bunch of years, they kept me at 20 megabit download and 3 up. And then at the end of 2019 and the end of 2020, or end of 20 and 21, they increased me first to 100 megabit download and then to 200 megabit download. But they sent a letter about increasing the pricing, and we're already paying more than what new customers are by probably double, since this account has been open since 2013. And I want, since they're only now doing upgrades in this area, I want to try to negotiate a better deal with them, even if it's only for 6 months or a year, and then have it start going back up again. But this garbage that they're pulling with increasing the cost in the spirit of upgrading the lines, is a bunch of bollocks, as the Brits would say. Or, you know, remembering from an old Edison Diamond Disc record that my dad had when I was a kid, it's a bunch of bunk. There's an old word for you. But yeah, I may have to go up to the 300 megabit download and maybe get a bump on the upload, which would help my cause. I'm more than happy with 1080p. Might be nice to have a 4K TV, but I can't justify the price or hassle, really. Yeah. I actually edit on a pair of 2K monitors, but the final result on the pair of 4K I have on my streaming rig. Nice. The one I just released yesterday, all I changed was the lead thumbnail sentence wording, and the color. The views jumped 30%. Wow. When I bump up from 300 to at least 500, preferably one gig, then I will go 4K streaming. Yeah. Apparently 1 gig is available in this area. I'm not necessarily willing to go all the way up there quite yet. But the other thing that the cable company's pulling in this area now is, after many, many years, they're finally putting monthly caps on data. So I'm not looking forward to that, because, you know, downloading ISO images and doing video streaming sucks some bandwidth. So yeah, it's just, it's kind of crazy that they've decided to do this, especially, you know, and it's probably because of everybody increasingly working from home, and, you know, they're just out to get their payoff after neglecting the infrastructure for years. So David, thank you for mentioning that. Yes, if everybody could hit like on the video, I'd appreciate it. I may pull this one down and do some edits and then repost it, fixing the audio a bit, and hopefully making it a little more watchable. I may just pull it down and chop it and put it back out as multiple videos, fixing those things in the process. So, all right. Any other final questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions? I'm open to any of that at the moment. About another 5 minutes or so, and I'll wrap this up for the day, and then everybody can go enjoy the rest of their Sunday. So, all right. Well, I'll give everybody a little bit while longer yet.
In this video, I'm going to show you how I show live chat messages on the screen.
No. Stop. Okay. My apologies for that. Had an Aaron Parecki video loaded up in another tab, and whoops. If you haven't looked at Aaron Parecki's stuff, he does have a live chat overlay plugin for Chrome. It does run in Brave. Seems like there was at one point a Firefox version. I can't seem to locate that right now. But it should be useful to some of you out there. All right. Well, nobody seems to have any other questions or comments at the moment, so that will wrap up our live stream for today. Thank you one and all for coming out. I appreciate it. I am definitely looking forward to continuing to build this channel out as I work through the last of my technical issues with the ATEM Mini and getting that going. I really like the idea of this box. Blackmagic Design does make some really slick equipment, and the price was right on this. Yeah. Well, hopefully by next week I will be ready to run everything from the ATEM, and that should keep the load off any of my computers here, since it does all the I guess you call it rendering in the box. I believe they're using some sort of an ASIC inside to handle that before it pushes it direct to YouTube. I may also in the coming later this year, I may also start playing with Restream.io to push my live streams out to multiple places simultaneously. It's one of those things that when I dump the subscription for StreamYard later in the year, depending on how the testing goes with the free version, I may grab a subscription to Restream.io and start pushing this live out everywhere once I get the chat integrations figured out, so that I can have a centralized chat from Facebook, YouTube, potentially Twitch, or LinkedIn. So that is sort of on my radar for later this year, but we'll see how that all works out and go from there. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Stay safe, and hopefully by summertime things will be a little more normal, especially if this travesty in Ukraine is behind us by then. I'm not holding my breath on that part, but hopefully it will be done and over with by then. So, all right, take care everybody. I'll see you next week.